What if the mechanic you've been paying for years has been doing jobs you could have handled yourself in a driveway with $50 in tools? Today we're breaking down the honest truth about DIY car repair. When it saves you money, when it costs you more, and where the line actually is between a weekend project and a professional job. Let's start with the number everyone cares about first. The average American spends somewhere between $500 and $200 a year on vehicle maintenance and repairs. That number climbs fast the moment something major goes wrong. A timing belt job at a shop runs $500 to $1,000 depending on the vehicle. Brake pads and rotors all around, $400 to $700. A simple oxygen sensor replacement, $150 to $300. Spark plugs, $200 to $400 at a shop for a job that takes 20 minutes on most engines. Now here's what those same jobs cost in parts only. Timing belt kit, $60 to $150. Brake pads and rotors all around, $80 to $200. Oxygen sensor, $20 to $60. Spark plugs, $20 to $40. The labor markup at a shop isn't price gouging. Labor rates reflect real overhead, rent, equipment, insurance, trained technicians. But when you do the job yourself, you eliminate that markup entirely. On a single timing belt job, you could save $400 to $800. Do that twice, and you've paid for a decent set of tools. Over a lifetime of car ownership, the savings are staggering. Drivers who handle their own basic maintenance consistently report saving $1,500 to $3,000 annually, depending on what they drive and how many vehicles they own. But the money argument only holds up if you do the job correctly. A botched repair doesn't save money, it multiplies the original cost. A stripped oil drain plug turns a $30 oil change into a $200 headache. A misinstalled brake caliper is worse than expensive, it's dangerous. So the real financial question isn't just how much do parts cost versus labor, it's what is my honest skill level and do I have the right tools for this job? Not every repair is equal. There's a clear tier system when it comes to DIY feasibility. Tier 1, do this yourself every single time. Oil changes, air filters, cabin filters, spark plugs on most engines, battery replacement, wiper blades, brake pads on straightforward applications. These are beginner-level jobs that require minimal tools, have almost no consequence for minor errors, and carry huge cumulative savings over time. If you're not doing these yourself already, you're leaving hundreds of dollars a year on the table. Tier 2, worth doing with some research and basic tools. Brake rotors and calipers, oxygen sensors, thermostat replacement, coolant flushes, transmission fluid changes, serpentine belt replacement, wheel bearing hubs on accessible platforms. These jobs require more confidence and the right tools but are well within reach for anyone willing to spend an afternoon on YouTube before turning a wrench. Tier 3. Proceed carefully and honestly assess your skill level. Timing belts and timing chains. Suspension work beyond basic components. Turbocharger removal and installation. Head gaskets. Fuel system repairs. These jobs have real consequences if done wrong. A timing belt installed incorrectly can destroy an engine on first startup. That doesn't mean avoid them, it means respect them. Do your research thoroughly and know when to stop and ask for help. Tier 4. Think hard before touching these yourself. Transmission rebuilds, engine rebuilds, ABS module replacement and bleeding, airbag system work, anything involving the fuel tank on a modern vehicle. These aren't impossible at home, but the margin for error is thin, and the cost of getting it wrong is high. Unless you have genuine experience in these areas, the shop starts making financial sense again at this tier. Here's what nobody tells you upfront about going the DIY route. Tools cost money. A basic socket set, torque wrench, jack stands, and floor jack will run you $200 to $400 for decent quality. Specialty tools for specific jobs, camlock tools, ball joint presses, spring compressors, can add another $50 to $200 per job if you don't already own them. Most of these tools pay for themselves after 1 or 2 uses, but the upfront investment is real. Time is money too. A shop can turn around a brake job in an hour, because they may have a lift, air tools, and a technician who's done that exact job 100 times. Your first time doing the same job might take 3 to 4 hours. That's not a reason not to do it. But it's an honest calculation, worth making, especially if your time has high value elsewhere. Mistakes happen. Even experienced home mechanics strip threads, break bolts, and occasionally make a repair more complicated than it started. The key is having the patience and problem-solving ability to work through those moments rather than panic. Penetrating oil, heat, and patience solve most stuck fastener problems. But if you're the type to get frustrated and force things, DIY repair will cost you more than it saves. Parts quality matters more than most beginners realize. The cheapest part on the shelf is rarely the right answer. A $12 water pump from an unknown brand versus a $45 OEM equivalent isn't a $33 savings. It's a gamble on whether you'll be doing the same job again in 18 months. Stick to reputable brands. Gates for belts and hoses, Brembo or EBC for brakes, Bosch or Denso for sensors. Buy once, fix once. DIY isn't always the answer, and knowing when to hand it off is just as important as knowing how to do the job yourself. Safety-critical systems where you have zero experience deserve professional attention. Brake hydraulic lines, steering rack replacement, anything structural. Getting these wrong doesn't just cost money, it puts you and everyone around you at risk. Diagnostic work on modern vehicles is increasingly complex. A check engine light that turns out to be a simple sensor is one thing. An intermittent misfire with no clear code. A transmission that slips only under specific conditions, an electrical gremlin that appears and disappears. These can consume dozens of hours of diagnostic time that a shop with the right equipment resolves in an afternoon. Knowing when a professional scanner and experienced eyes are worth the hourly rate is part of being a smart DIYer. Warranty considerations matter on newer vehicles. Improper repairs or non-OEM parts on a vehicle still under warranty can complicate or void coverage depending on the circumstance. Know where your vehicle stands before you start wrenching. And sometimes the job simply requires equipment you don't have and can't reasonably rent. A transmission flush on a vehicle that requires a specific machine. A wheel alignment after suspension work. 4 wheel alignments require an alignment rack.
There's no one.
Here's the part of the DIY conversation that gets overlooked entirely. Money is only half the equation. When you work on your own car, you develop an understanding of how it operates that no amount of shop visits can give you. You know what your brakes feel like when they're fresh. You know what your engine sounds like when everything is right. You notice changes earlier because you actually know the baseline. That knowledge has real value. It makes you a better diagnostic thinker. It means you don't get taken advantage of at a shop when you do go. It means you can have an intelligent conversation about what's actually wrong with your vehicle and what it actually costs to fix. There's also something genuine about maintaining your own equipment. Cars are mechanical systems, and understanding them at a hands-on level builds a kind of competence that carries over into everything else you work on. So, is DIY car repair worth it? For basic maintenance, absolutely, without question. For intermediate repairs with proper research, in most cases yes. For complex or safety-critical work without the right experience, know your limits. The drivers who save the most money aren't the ones who do everything themselves. They're the ones who know exactly which jobs to handle in the driveway and which ones to hand off without guilt. Work on your car. Learn your car. Just be honest about where your skills actually are.